Hello, my name is Haley Peroni, and this is my community outreach lesson plan presentation for the multiple week project in which we communicated with a teacher out in the field, in our personal field, and asked them what kind of problems can possibly be solved in their classroom using technology. My teacher is Miss Cheryl Blaisdell. She is a teacher with 34-year experience, at least what she told me, and I can totally believe it. She's incredible. She works currently at Flippin Middle School and High School, both of them. It's a very small school, and it's which I graduated from. And she is an inspiration for me becoming an art teacher, and she does everything in the school, I swear. She runs a statewide annual art competition called Arkansas Young Artists Association. She runs an art club. She runs a student body, and just so much more. And she had told me that one of her biggest problems in a classroom that she can think of possibly being fixed with technology is the problem is that a lot of students are having memory problems, as she kind of put it on the phone. She goes that a lot of her students aren't retaining the information in which she gives on quizzes, so they aren't either using it enough and memorizing it, even though she's been posting it on Google Classroom recently and hoping that they have a chance to go ahead and read more and hopefully instill the information in their heads. So that causes a whole bunch of issues. A lot of them are getting really bad grades, and she has the ability to show parents that they have these things to help them study placed up, but they're not always using them. So I was tasked to make a lesson plan that might help students better retain information on a certain unit. So I think we'd be using things such as Google Earth, which is a website in which allows you to travel the world without leaving your house. Quizlet, a wonderful kind of like a flashcard website, and Google Classroom, which is something she already uses, and we used Edmodo, and I felt like it was a very similar thing, and I could help her better utilize the tool. So Google Earth is super fancy. I use it a lot to just discover more art pieces that I wouldn't normally see. In the lesson plan, we are asking students to go and search up Venice, Italy, which is culturally diverse and full of architectural miracles, essentially. And they go in to Google Earth, search up Venice, and then they will double click until they get to this, something similar to this. It's the center of the island of Venice, and it's the main canal, and there's a lot of buildings, as you can see. And after this, they are going to look in the right-hand corner of their screen, which they will see this little guy here. He will help them look in Street View, and doing Street View is really cool because you can take that and go in multiple views to find buildings like a real person would be walking, or in this case, riding on a boat. And one of these buildings is this one that I found. I wanted them to find something that would be with this nice crisp line, because this line is going to allow them to use two-point perspective to draw it in class, which is a very common thing to teach. So two-point perspective would lead their eyes in two different directions. So that would end up looking something like this. Is a two-point perspective drawing, a little bit more fancy than most of the students will most likely choose, which is understandable. Where you have a set corner in which you start from and you go from there. Throughout the in-class work of that, we are going to be, the students would be creating that wonderful piece, and they're also going to be studying the unit architectural vocabulary. So Quizlet's a really fun way to have not only images, but vocab, and have like a test between students. So it's a good way not only to work with one another, but to work at home by yourselves. So this is the Romanesque style arches used to distribute weight, and it's shown right here. And that's what's wonderful. You would click again to see the term, and you would flip it, and it would have like just the term, and then boom, it would talk about what it was, which is very helpful and a fun way for students to understand things better. At the end of the project, the students would go on their Google Classroom and they would take a little quiz. This is very helpful. I feel like it shows you a defined due date It is simple to get to, and the grades would easily be found by Miss Blaisdell. So they are going to be assessed on a couple things. Most of it is work-based. Like the student would get 10 points for just using the Google Earth to find an image, and you would be able to tell normally if it's from Google Earth. And then they have to print the image out to bring it to class so they can use it for their perspective drawing. I would consider it being on time a very big part of grading. And then there is a rubric that I believe would probably be a good example to use for the students making a perspective project, because a lot of times students coming in for art for the first couple of times don't really know what to expect, and they don't know what the teachers are expecting. And a rubric is a really good way for them to understand how they are going to be graded. So this is a little rubric that I created, a basic one for a perspective project. You have things like line quality, perspective, and craftsmanship. So, for example, line quality is like really clean lines, and there's not too much mess around, and everything meets up cleanly, and nothing's like going past where it should. And then perspective would just be like the use of the tool they're being learning, the technique they're learning. And then craftsmanship would be, is your paper folded? Is it full of fingerprints? Is some, very basic concepts that they're going to learn and have to deal with more as they go higher up into an art conversation. So these are the things that I used. I used Quizlet, Google Classroom, and Google Earth, which are all very easy and accessible and found on any computer as long as they have internet.